Hello, Dr. Brad Hulsevus here, and welcome to another edition of Ask the Chiropractor. Ask the Chiropractor is my little podcast that I do. When someone has a question about chiropractic or chiropractic care, I try to answer. I'm a chiropractor here in Rockford, Illinois. I'm a proud graduate of Palmer College of Chiropractic, and I'm happy to be the team chiropractor of the Rockford Ice Hogs. Let's dive into it. Hello, and welcome to another edition of Ask the Chiropractor. Today I'm going to talk about a topic I've talked about several times before, but I feel still gravely underutilized and something that's very, very important. Talking about chiropractic care for brain injuries and brain health. Now, if you've heard me talk in the past, or if you want to go back in the library and look at them, you've heard me talk about the works of Ted Carrick, Carrick, and the work he's done with NHL and NFL football players after concussion. If you've heard me talk before, you've heard me talk about Scott Rosa, R-O-S-A. He's the one that helped Jim McMahon go back to being Jim McMahon. Go on to YouTube, type concussion and Jim McMahon. You'll be amazed at the work he did with Jim McMahon. You've heard me talk about Heidi Havik, H-A-A-V-I-K. I just heard her present again in Denver about 2 weeks ago about when you give a chiropractic adjustment, the way the brain synapses increase. So after getting a chiropractic adjustment, there's remarkable increased activity in the brain to improve the brain health and the brain function. If you're worried about dementia or Alzheimer's, or if you've had brain injury, taking a look at Heidi Havik's newest research will really inspire you. And I've talked about all these things many, many times, because if you have a brain injury, the leading physicians that are helping people with brain injuries recover speedy and effectively are chiropractors. Dr. Ted Carrick, who I mentioned before, is actually now at Harvard taking care of the research for brain and trauma. Amazing work he does. I've heard him speak several times, even had lunch with him a few times. I've got to sit down with Scott Rosa a couple of times and talk to him about what he does with the eye movements. Speaking of eye movements, the reason of today's podcast is we're going to talk about a new PubMed research paper. Again, if you've heard me speak before, PubMed is where you post the best place to do research, in my opinion. So in order for something to get published on PubMed, it has to go through massive scrutiny to make sure it's PubMed eligible. Meaning that if I just wrote a random paper about something and there was many errors in my paper, PubMed would reject me. When I sit down with physicians and I start whipping out PubMed articles, we don't have a lot of arguing because they know PubMed's an excellent research for research. So whenever you research anything, always type in whatever you're researching in PubMed. Take chiropractic safety, PubMed. There you'll see that most of the stuff they say about chiropractors is not true. Let's go back to this study though. The title of the study is The Effect of Chiropractic Intervention on Ocular Motor and Additional Visual Outcomes in Young Adults with Long-Term Mild Traumatic Brain Injury, TBIs, a randomized controlled trial. So what they did is they had a whole bunch of people with the eye movement after having a traumatic brain injury, a TBI, a concussion. And they noticed that after they received chiropractic care, there was marked improvement. There was also marked improvement as far as the speed of recovery was concerned. So this comes out of the Journal of Manipulative Physical Therapy, 2024, November 4th. I'll put a link in this wherever you're listening or watching this, so you can read the paper yourself. You don't have to take my word. But basically, they put people through a bunch of different stability tests and different things, and they watched their eye patterns and their motion, those who received chiropractic care and those who did not. And of course, no surprise to me, but those who got chiropractic care showed speedy recovery and marked recovery. Not everybody always heals from these things the way they're supposed to. And now they're finding out more and more and more that the muscles of the neck play such a vital role in the brain health, as Heidi Havik previously has proven, and as Ted Carrick's work has shown, and Scott Rosa's work has done. And I even talked about Longyear, another scientist, chiropractor, that does chiropractic adjustments under a motion MRI machine where we can literally see what's happening when we adjust you. But I just wanted to point out another example when it comes to chiropractors dealing with brain injuries and concussions. Remember, you can't have a head injury without a neck injury. You can't hurt your head without whipping your neck around. The neck's a vital part, very, very vital part of this. So basically, this just shows that people get better so much quicker when they're under chiropractic care. The gaze stability improved, performance in the Stroop test, STROOP, compared to the control people, just show that chiropractic care, a novel avenue for alleviating certain visual and cognitive symptoms, with patients with PPCS, concussion. So the evidence is showing more and more and more with the proprioceptive input of chiropractic adjustment, that chiropractic adjustment should be a vital part of getting better from concussion. Now, one reason this is so important, this article talks about, is the fact that when you have a traumatic brain injury or a concussion, the risk of you getting a second one while you're still healing is huge, huge. Getting chiropractic care to speed up the injury decreases the odds. Obviously, the faster you can fix the concussion, get better from the concussion, the less likely you're going to have a second concussion. Because if you listened to me speak before, the first concussion is bad, but most of us heal up from that. It's if we get a second concussion before we heal from the first concussion, that's really, 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 really bad. And that can limit our healing potential and have catastrophic effects. So if there's something out there that we know through science that's been proven multiple times in multiple research papers by multiple different people through various studies and exams. Now this one just has to do a lot with the eye tracker, right? That's a lot of Dr. Ted Carrick's work. But that's got nothing to do with Scott Rosa's work or Heidi Havig's work. So we've been able to prove that chiropractic can help a concussion scientifically through the research that's all PubMed indexed, that chiropractors can help concussions in various different means and forms. So Dr. Ted Carrick knows that adjusting the neck, and this study tells a lot about this too, adjusting the neck increases the proprioceptive input. Now proprioceptive, I always kind of describe it as our sixth sense. Like right now, I know where my hand, I know where my feet are. I'm sitting behind a desk, but I know where my feet are. I can't see them right now because I'm behind a desk. But I know exactly where they are. That's proprioception. And also your balance, just knowing your place in space. And your proprioceptive muscles and the neurological proprioceptive input and the muscles in the base of your skull and your upper neck are so much higher than anywhere else in the entire body. And we're finding that whenever there's a brain injury, the proprioceptive output is severely injured, severely impacted. And so by getting these upper two bones adjusted and getting some of the pressure off of these two bones and make them move again, and getting rid of what we call the nerve interference in these areas unlocks your healing potential dramatically. So getting a chiropractic adjustment in this area as you're trying to heal from an injury in this area is huge and should not be taken lightly. It definitely should get done. So again, I just can't stress enough. Scott Rosa's work showed that how when you have a brain injury, there's a whiplash-like trauma, and that can create a pulling on the brainstem to the foramen magnum. When you do the adjustment, the foramen magnum can go back up. Dr. Longyear's work proved this because he actually under motion MRI. We did the adjustment under the motion MRI. We watched the brainstem pop back up, particularly the cerebellar tonsils. They pop back in. The spinal fluid regenerated. The flow that was stuck from basically the foramen magnum being clogged with the midbrain. When that pops back up, the fluid moves again. When the fluid moves again, the headaches and the pressure all goes away. The forgetfulness, all that just goes away. It's Jim McMahon described like a toilet bowl flushing. And then, like I said, Longyear also proved that with the headaches, and when we do this adjustment, that the venous flow is increased. So a lot of people feel like they're having a pulsating problem even after a head injury or maybe a really bad headache. They feel like their blood vessels are screaming. Longyear's work proved that the blood vessels work fine. You're getting plenty of blood to your brain. You just can't get it out. And so what you're feeling, that pulsating thing, that's the backflow coming back. So when he does the adjustment, a lot of times your venous flow will increase. That's why a lot of times when you go with a chiropractor, you get a good upper cervical adjustment, the top two bones in your neck. You come up from in a laying down position, you feel a little lightheaded for about 5-10 seconds. That's your spinal fluid and your venous flow equaling off back to homeostasis. Again, I just can't stress enough, if you have athletes, go to the chiropractor. Get those athletes looked at. Here in our office, if you're playing a sport, I don't care the sport. If you're playing a sport where concussion could be an issue, we don't really look at bowlers that much. We don't see a lot of bowling concussions. But any other sport where there's running and there's a lot of people in the field, whether they're basketball, volleyball, soccer, football, hockey, baseball, we take x-rays of everyone's neck before the season starts. We want to have a baseline. So that way, if there's concussion, we know what the neck looked like pre-concussion, so we can do a better job getting you back to after the concussion, back to where you're supposed to be, back to return to play. We don't do this alone. We work with a local orthopedic group They do a lot of the neurological and orthopedic testing for concussions. And we also work with our friends down the street at Movement Fitness, where they do a lot of the exercise along with this. So we have a team approach. If you have a sports chiropractor in your community, I highly recommend you seek them out. Try to establish a baseline before the season starts. That way, God forbid, if there is concussion, you have a plan to go back to normal care. Again, I just can't stress this enough. If you have an athlete and they have a concussion, seeing the chiropractor is just one of the most important things you can do. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a chiropractor. I'm saying that because the research over and over and over again continues to stress this. It continues to prove this over and over and over again. And I don't think that much more in medicine's changed. I think they've gotten better at doing testing for concussions. I think they've gotten better at being able to recognize when someone has a concussion. But I don't think the care has changed too much. But chiropractors, we're knocking it out of the park. I just can't stress enough how important it is to get your child in, your athlete in, your college athlete, even the adult athlete. Even if you're just playing pickleball, right? And you collide with your teammate when you're playing doubles, there's a concussion. So having that baseline is huge. So find a chiropractor that knows about concussions, that has a passion for concussions like we do. A lot of times you can find them in a sports chiropractic. If you go to chiropractic.org, you can see that there's a Sports and Science Fitness Council. I'm on that. I'm on the board. You can find chiropractors that are in that council with me in your community that help you find somebody. Just ask your chiropractor, hey, you do a lot of concussion work. If they look at you, they hesitate for a moment or two, trying to come up with a clever answer. Ask them who does. I refer people to other chiropractors all the time. So find somebody who does. Work with a chiropractor. Get them under care. And if you have any questions, go ahead and leave a comment below. Again, I'll have links to this newest research paper, another research paper. Go back, do a search. If you go to my website, rockforddc.com, you will see that there's all kinds of links to type of concussions under my blogs. You'll see I've talked about this topic to death. I just can't stress how important it is to get that neck adjusted if you have concussion. All right, remember, if you go to your neurologist and ask him, should I see a chiropractor for concussion? Or if you go to your athletic trainer, ask him, should I see a chiropractor for the concussion? Or you go to an orthopedic doctor, ask him, should I see a chiropractor for concussion? They're going to tell you no, because they're ignorant about what we do. If you have a question about chiropractic or chiropractic care, you should only ask a chiropractor. Or go to PubMed and do your own research. Look it up yourself. PubMed will tell you to go see a chiropractor. Thank you.